Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to look at Sara Alone issue 1. I had recorded this video a while ago, but I thought it was important to actually share it now just because of all the stuff that's been going on with the lack of storytelling I've been seeing and the lack of quality in a lot of the books. It's going to have spoilers. I'm going to try to keep it light on spoilers while covering the story, but I am going to have to spoil some stuff. It's just the way it's going to be. I thought it was really important to look at these Bande Dessinée, BDs, whatever you want to call them, because the story was really well paced, the writing, the subplotting, everything like that, and it's actually really good. It's about 55, 57 pages, leads into the next issue. They have subplots, all that kind of stuff, and they wrap everything up, and that's why I really wanted to look at it here today, just because it was really important to sit down and read something and get a full story out of it while also being brought into the next issue without having, the dun-dun-dun cliffhangers and things like that. So with all that said, let's jump into it. Let's go. So today, we're looking at Sara Alone, published by Sumerian. It's actually quite small. As you can see, they've shrunken it down from the original French publication. Story by Erik Arnoux. Art, David Morancho. Translation by Joanne Johnson. Published by Sumerian. Okay, so yeah, there's going to be some light spoilers because I think there are some very important story lessons to learn from just this single issue about starting a story, tying up the loose ends, and then bridging you into the next book as you've wrapped up all these loose ends. You're putting the reader in a position where they're like, oh, that was fulfilling. Any of these loose ends have been tied up. So now we can move on with this character's arc and the story without being stuck on a cliffhanger. Okay? All right, let's keep going. So there's some excellent art in here. And I actually think I will at some point pick up the French editions just due to the size difference and being able to see the art as it was originally intended. But I came across these books, got a good deal on the whole lot of them, variant covers and all that stuff as well. So I grabbed them and yeah, we'll show them off here. But yeah, so we kind of start out, got the nice song playing, and you have a young couple in love here. They get to some fooling around, and then she spies a head sticking in the sand, and they think, hilariously, it's a like a peeping Tom. Find out it's a dead body. So yeah, we kind of go along through this, and again, the art's excellent. It's a period piece, by the way. The cop basically has to go and find our titular character, Sara Alone. Funny enough, she works at a brothel. So he goes there to visit her, and there's quite a few things going on here. So, she kind of takes it as it is, and it's like, oh, the little gossip girls run around here. So they basically get into the backstory of a lot of these characters, and when they show up, why they're showing up, and basically the mystery is what happens to her father. The head was Sarah's father. I'm going to be spoilering some of this, but I think it's important because we find out a bunch of things here where basically, once she finds out her father dies, she asks for money from this grim guy who runs the burlesque house. So anyway, he ends up getting handsy with her. She puts the old smackdown on him pretty hard. But then we have the girl who we had previously seen under the desk doing a little oral service. She comes in and takes advantage of the situation to get the money that Sara was owed this money. She wanted it back, and then the guy got handsy, and then she smashed him in the face with a lamp. And so she comes across here and goes, oh shit, here he is. I'm going to take the money, and then he's still alive. And so she goes in and finishes the job. And so this is one of the many subplot things that I really like, and they were really handled all the little subplots very well. And so we have the other girl kill that guy, and then she makes it look like she takes his finger and writes out Sara Alone's name. So to pin the rap on Sara when she just took the money that was owed to her. Anyway, so she heads back to town, And they have a lot of these really of the period poster designs and stuff like that. So I'm really impressed with a lot of it. And so here's where we start pulling a lot of these subplots together. There's a mafia boss, and he's like, hey, I don't want these people stealing from me. So obviously he goes and sends people after Sara. Then as things go on, the girl who actually stole the bulk of the money ends up running around town and spending way too much money, and we'll get to that. You know, and Sara goes back to town. Her father had the fishing company, and so she kind of comes to grips with what goes on with him. And we're only a handful of pages in here, and we're getting backstory on her, like, you know, ability to shoot and all this kind of stuff, and how she interacted with her father and her father's friends. You know, and they worked with him after the war to run a shipping company, like fishing company. So anyway, so she, you know, she's back in town here. She gets arrested and picked up by the cop for supposedly murdering and stealing that money. We're in with that. And then we have what we call like a spook, a men in black, a glowy, whatever nomenclature you'd like to throw upon them. And so, you know, we bring this guy into Sara's world. So he basically brings her along with him to kind of find out what's going on. There's some stuff going on, and he wants to know why these guys died. All that stuff happens. Funeral, buries her father, and so we still have all these guys looking for her. She's still in danger because the mob thinks she stole that money from and killed that burlesque guy, and they're not going to have anybody take their money, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So basically, she tries to drug the guy who's watching her, the spook, and so she takes off to go find out what's going on. Meets with one of her father's friends, and then he ends up dying. And they're like, hey, this is like the second person that's involved to die. So we basically have the mobsters find her. The spook glowy guy was like, hey, I was pretending that you drugged me, and I came, killed these guys, saved them. They dump the bodies. Thankfully, they have a fishing boat. They dump the bodies. And so basically, here's where we start coming up on tying loose ends up, making sure people know what's going on. So they talk to this guy who's also a friend of the father that worked on the shipping boat. So it's revealed that there was a treasure. And so these guys believe that her father was killed because of this treasure. Now, maybe, and see, this is some of the loose end stuff, some of the interesting stuff about the way this story is told. Now, maybe the spook glowy guy knows about this treasure. And so he's kind of looped in with Sara, hoping that he can basically find the treasure and get the gold, so to speak. And so he's kind of been bringing her along. Now, with her father and one of her friends dead, this other guy's the only one left, and he explains the story. Explains the story to them, tells them all about the gold and the ship, the sunken ship they found, and they're the only ones that know where it is, and they each have some doubloons and whatnot from the wreck. And so that's part one of the mystery of Sara's father's death. So we're like, okay, we know potentially why he was killed, why the other guy was killed. So we have multiple subplots running here. She's mourning her father's loss. Her father was killed ostensibly because of this treasure. The glowy guy latches onto her, perhaps because of the treasure and because of all the stuff going on around her in general. Probably feels that she will, you know, lead him to the source of all this kind of stuff. So anyway, we got the detective. He's come back. They're, you know, glossing over what happened and why she's in trouble again. We got JFK kicking around here. Here's how smart some of this stuff is, right? So the glowy gets in touch with the mobster, knowing that he's killed the two mob guys that the mob guy sent after her. So he's like, hey, I'm going to contact this guy. You go meet him and we'll squash this because I have pull. And so she goes and meets him, and he basically says, hey, normally you steal from me, I would kill you, but we found the lady that actually killed Grimm, and she was running around town like an idiot, spending all this money that she shouldn't have had. So, you know, the mobsters put two and two together, got the real killer, and basically let her go. They're like, hey, we know what's up, but don't forget, we know. And so they've wrapped that story up. They've wrapped up the murder. She's no longer blamed for the murder. The mafia has gotten their revenge on the person who did the killing and took the money. They've wrapped that piece of the story up. She can cleanly move forward now because this isn't hanging over her. These people aren't looking for her anymore, and the government spook guy basically said, leave her alone. Like, I'll owe you a favor, or I could make life very hard for you. Whatever, you know. He made it happen. And so the meeting happened and everybody's good. We've chopped that plot point off, we've ended it cleanly, and that's the thing that's really good about this from an art and storytelling perspective. You have given everybody the information they need, you've led everybody to all the correct points, and then you've satisfactorily given them closure on. And so for me, because I read this after a certain other book that I had read before that was just full of, you know, wavy pacing and all kinds of nonsense, this was like, oh wow, storytelling 101, thanks. So yeah, so anyway, we've closed off all that stuff, and now we've put Sara on a plane. And so she is going to, basically, because of the information she got about the shipwreck and the doubloons and all that, the glowy spook guy put her on a plane, and she's on the lead. So we've tied up everything that happened, but that now we're leading into the next book. And to me, that's really important, because not only did I read this and go, oh, that was a really good story, and now it's going to lead into the next book, which I have here. And so, yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Very much recommend Sara Alone by Arnoux and Morancho. Sumerian's been publishing some of these books over here in this kind of smaller format. Quality's good, paper's good, everything like that. But you are missing out on the Bande Dessinée format, the larger style format that really makes this art sing. But yeah, with that said, I think plotting, pacing, story, wrapping up subplots, and giving people a complete story when they buy your product is very important. And so I wanted to bring this book to people's attention, and hopefully you'll pick it up and we'll follow, we'll come in later and look at the follow-up issues. I have all those as well. That's going to do it for me. If you liked everything you've seen here, like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, share it out on social media, tell your mom about it, let her know. I know she wants to. Right here, me, you. Huh? I know what she wants. I know what your mom wants. Anyway, see you next time. Alrighty. Bye-bye.